Okay, I have things to say. This is not going to be eloquent because I have a million ideas in my head. I'm also watching the news. The fan is on 2 because this weather is ridiculous. I was like, I want to find one of those. You know how they have like a calendar type weather thing that'll have all. I know I used to see them on TV where it has all the temperatures for like the last month or something. I want to look at the last 3 months because I feel like it's been too hot for me for the last 3 months. Remember, I grew up here. I live on the south coast of Massachusetts. I'm not in Texas. I'm not in some hot climate, and it's too hot for me. Last night, my feet were so hot. The last couple days, my feet have been so hot. Like the bottom of my feet feel like somebody is grilling them. And I'm like, what the hell is this? I've been alive for a long time. I've been in summers for a long time. I never had a situation where my feet are so hot I can't fall asleep. You know, I'm trying to, because the fan's in front of me, I'm trying to wet my feet so the fan can cool them off constantly. And it's just like, what the hell is this? Unbelievable, but I should mute the news. Um, I woke up I'm so confused, not just about my life, but about life in general. Um, I'm mystified by it in an unpleasant way. Um, and I have a lot of things to say. This is what's going to happen to me on the weekend. I'm going to have a lot of things to say and try to say them and think to myself, you're going to do like 5, 6 videos. And then I end up doing one. But I'm just going to say everything I'm thinking right now, and it's going to take forever. And this, I probably will not fix the audio on this because of that. Maybe I will. I don't know. But the thing I was thinking of most, I was thinking about, I'm so sick of the divide in this country. As I said before, I was raised Democrat. Obviously, this is Democrat country. You know, um, I thought I was a liberal for a long time until they started telling me what to think. And I was not allowed to even discuss or ask questions. And this is about not the stuff we're even talking about now. So I stopped being a liberal a long time ago. I've been registered as an independent, meaning I'm unenrolled, and that's how you do it here, since like 2000. I've voted all over the place. My views are all over the place, and maybe one day I'll make a video saying all my views, but I am not. This is the problem. This is why I say I'm never going to agree with anybody. I'm never going to know anybody anymore, because we're at a point where people are so freaking divided. Even after everything we went through last year, seeing how shitty the government is, people should have just thrown away the whole political discourse of they're the bad guys. No, they're the bad guys. No, you're the bad guys. That shit should have ended. It should have been apparent to everyone that all these political people have nothing to do with us. Okay? What's happened in the last week or so, watching them talk about Joe Biden's, this plan he has, and just watching these people, I mean, they've been ridiculous all along. I thought that government was crazy all along. But watching the recent months, when they didn't have Trump as a boogeyman anymore, these people needing to deal with the crisis that they've created through the lockdowns last year are beyond clueless. They seem to be flailing when, like I said, they decided to start opening everything back up and forcing people back to the office and stuff, which, as I said, last year or even the beginning of this year, it seemed like we were headed to a completely new way of doing things. Remotely doing school for a lot of people, remotely doing office work for a lot of people, and a lot of people were happy to stay home. All of a sudden, the last couple months, there's been this push to get everybody to go back to normal, and I already didn't think that our supposed leaders, meaning the governors, mayors, I already thought that they got their orders from elsewhere. But the way that they come on, just looking, as much as I don't like them, I see in their eyes that they're lost. They're searching. They don't even know what they're doing. Okay? There are those who are maybe higher on the food chain, who've been around longer, the dyed-in-the-wool Democrats who believe that they're running things, who are smug looking and they feel like they got it all under control because they're doing what they intended to do, but they're not. I don't think any of these people had intentions. I think they do what they're told from somebody, from somewhere, whether it's the people who contributed to their campaigns, whether there's a larger collective, maybe by, the Democratic National Committee, the Republican National Committee, whether it's more of a party. Each party has their leadership who are now acting like committees instead of individual people who were voted for, which is why Trump was a problem for everybody, because these parties were acting like the party, and they so they're trying to act in lockstep, going in different directions depending on which side they are, but their lockstep is crap, no matter which side it is. They don't know what they're doing. A crisis happened. They were complete buffoons. Every single one of them was a complete buffoon. Okay? So, you may have a person here or a person there who did a good job, but that person is the exception to the rule. Okay? Most people who were put in a position of power, who regular citizens voted for or believe they voted for, those people are inept. They were incompetent. They shouldn't have been in charge of leading a high school band. They ruined our world. Okay? And now we're going to put, they knew how to ruin it, but they sure as hell don't know how to fix it. Because these people can't fix anything. They have no clue. And this bill, this huge bill, this infrastructure bill, I don't care what side you're on. We needed to fix infrastructure a long time ago. We needed to fix infrastructure 2 years ago. Nobody's saying infrastructure and that kind of stuff didn't need to be fixed. But hello, we're still in the middle of an immediate crisis. And we have been. And the fact that vaccines existed should not have allowed these people to entertain the thought that the pandemic was over, because I don't think regular people ever thought that. Maybe some ding-dongs did. I don't know. The people who ran out to get vaccines so they could go on vacation or hug their grandkids, and that's the only reason why. I don't know them, if they really exist. I hear about them. But I wouldn't understand them. I wouldn't understand them. Because either you're just believing everything you read, you're believing everything you're told, or you're just a person who always just goes along, like I said, and by going along, you've had a good life, and you're just going to keep going along. But, I do not think you should mandate things. I do not think people needed to have a mask mandate. I think people could have thought for themselves. I think a lot of people, there's people who didn't want to wear masks. There's people who wanted to wear masks. Me, I'd rather be safe than sorry. So I personally want to be covered. I want to wear face covering in public because I don't want you breathing on me. But I don't want to breathe on you either, in case I picked up something and you are somebody who would be susceptible. And I did not stop. I have continued to wear, like I said, I wear the bandanas. I have continued to wear the bandanas the same way I did this whole time. Okay? Of course, I take public transportation, so in that way, I'm the kind of person who a lot of the rules didn't change for me. But, Walmart, I went to Walmart the last month or so, and the sign's like, okay, if you're fully vaccinated and stuff, you don't have to wear masks anymore. I'm walking around Walmart with my bandana on, looking at these people going, yeah. Walmart is they've got big doors in the front. If Walmart was like a barn and it had doors in the front and doors in the back and ceiling fans, I'd be like, okay, it doesn't. The air's not circulating any better than it ever did. vaccinated or not, you're still breathing on people, and people are breathing on you. And it doesn't matter if people are coming in and not wearing a mask and they didn't get vaccinated or they did. It doesn't matter. Every single person, vaccinated or not vaccinated, can still spread the virus by breathing, by sneezing, by talking. So you go to Walmart, you go somewhere like that, people are talking, those germs are in the air. They're in the air. Whether you're protected by having a mask on or not, whether you're protected by having a vaccine or not, those germs are still in the freaking air. And that's why I'm like, no thank you, I'm still gonna wear it. That's my personal opinion, and I don't see how it affects anybody else. But I know there are people who think that if I choose to wear a mask or a face covering or whatever, I'm not on their side. And this side shit, and this is what I'm saying. It's like, no, I actually agree with you about most things. I just want the thing on my face because I understand how germs work, and I always did. You know, a lot of people, unfortunately, when this pandemic hit, did not understand how germs work. Because they just took the daily guidance that kept changing instead of saying, okay, here's what the science actually says. There's a germ. We don't know enough about it. It's passed just like a cold by sneezing and coughing and droplets. So we don't know how bad it is. So let's take proper precautions. Let's wash our hands like we do during flu season. Let's use hand sanitizer like we do during flu season. But in this case, because we don't know the severity, let's maybe wear a mask, maybe not wear a mask, but know how germs have always worked. And years ago, going back, watching everything every time flu season came around, and them telling you to wash your hands instead of using hand sanitizer because hand sanitizer was going to make superbugs. I have all that stuff still in my head. I know that they would say to you, oh, the worst place is the doorknob in the public restroom, right? This is why if you're a normal person and you go to the bathroom in the public place and you get a paper towel, you open the door with a paper towel. This was going on for a long time, unless you just feel like you like getting sick every now and again and you feel like you can fight it and you don't want to be bothered with getting a paper towel, whatever. But all those rules we've had all these years for not getting germs off of doorknobs and stuff, they had the people thinking, oh no, it's not that bad catching coronavirus off surfaces. Once they said that, I was like, now they're not making any sense. Germs are germs are germs. Germs act the same. It's a different germ, but all these years of them telling us to not, don't touch the doorknob in the bathroom, don't, you know what I mean? Stuff like that. Now it's, oh no, this is different somehow. The main thing is to not breathe. That's when you started saying, okay, what's coming through the TV, it just doesn't make sense. I'm going to do what I know to protect myself and anybody around me in case I do end up carrying around a germ. And I've done that. As a responsible human being, I've done that for myself. I'm not saying anybody else has to, because everybody has their own beliefs and everybody else, and this is what I'm saying. I want people to be individuals again. I want people to live their life with the information they have, because that's what I think we're supposed to do. I don't think everybody is supposed to act in unison, in lockstep, because then what's the point of having different people? Why aren't we all, red shirts? You know what I'm saying? Why aren't we all just people who are the same? Why aren't we all, a bunch of stormtroopers, just clones, walking around being an army? That's not the point of being a human. The point of being a human is to live your life, learn things, try to do better, try to be a better person than you were yesterday, but be yourself, be an individual. And all this divide and infighting, and it's their fault and it's this one's fault, and this stupid bill that makes no sense to me with this money for the child tax credit. Like I said, somebody said on one of the things I was reading that it's actually not really any new money. It's the money people would get next year on their tax return. They're just getting it now. And I'm looking at all that money that Joe Biden is giving to this infrastructure stuff when we have not fixed the pandemic that put us all into lockdown. We're not past that. Okay? Whether we should have been put in lockdown or not, yeah, I don't think we should have. But the damage created by everything that happened in 2020 is not done. It's not handled. The virus has not gone away. Nobody is immune to it because the vaccine protects people. But it has not made anybody immune. Nobody really truly knows how long the vaccines will last for the people who are protected. Nobody really knows how a vaccine will do if another variant should pop up. You know? But I'm in the comment section on a video about this bill, and there's this person who's on disability, or who could be on disability who wasn't, just ranting about people and why don't they get a job, and stop wanting big government to be a nanny, and stop depending on this and that. And the same, you get these people, it's like they have a script as well. And I know people get upset, and I know they've been told year after year after year that the reason that so many taxes are taken out at them is because of those people over there who don't want to pull their weight, and they don't want to take care of themselves, and they just want to hand out. Look, all of these stereotypes, all of these cliches, all these things you've been here, they're all a lie. Okay? They're all a lie perpetrated by the powers that be, by the news media, by that machine that's running things to keep people separate. And as long as we're separate, as long as you see the person over there as the other who is causing your problems in life, even though you don't know them, you never met them, you just know or think you know about them. You think you know who they are and what they are and why everything they're doing is ruining your life. As long as you think that about people you don't even know, as long as you think of anybody as a group, even if you try to put yourself in a group, okay? And I don't care what you want to call that, a race, a religion, a gender, anything, any group you want to look at that person and say, they're in that group that's causing my problems. Or they're that kind of person that is my enemy because whatever you think is that person over there that's causing your problems. We're all trying to survive. Everybody is doing what they can in this life. I don't know anybody who asked to be born. I know, like I said, I watch the Fruity videos. I know the spiritual community. They say you chose your parents and all this stuff like that. It's like none of you know this crap. So I believe in all kinds of things, but I also understand what reality is, you know. So as far as I know, for sure, nobody asked to be born. Everybody got put on this planet. They got nice parents or they didn't. They got born in a nice place or they didn't. They got born perfectly healthy or they didn't. You know what I mean? They got born, you know, they had money growing up or they didn't. Okay? And all these things and all this stuff is why in the end people are special snowflakes, because every single person on this earth has a different set of circumstances. Twins growing up in the same household, looking exactly alike, being put in the same clothes, are still going to have different experiences in life, because they're not going to be together every moment, every day. Maybe one of them's going to get a tummy ache when the other one doesn't. No two people are exactly alike, and that's what makes us all snowflakes. But that doesn't mean that we should act delicate or fragile or think of ourselves as more special than the other snowflakes. Okay? The point is, the snowflake thing means we're an individual. If you have a problem with the term snowflake, which has become a bad word, it shouldn't. It means you're your own special person. You're your own individual. It doesn't mean, aren't you wonderful? You're just your own. You're you, and there's no other you. And you are here to be you. You're not here to be somebody else. And if you look at somebody else and you say, well, I don't feel like they should get any help, or I don't feel like they should get money because they should do what I did. They couldn't do what you did because they're not you. You've had the struggles, you've had the successes, you've had the life you've had because that's been your life. If you weren't you, your life would be different. If you were born and you lived in the house across the street from the house you live in now, your life would have been different. And you would have had different circumstances. And depending on the personality you were born with, you would have reacted to those circumstances different than somebody with the exact same circumstances and a different personality. We are individual people, and if the more we try to blame the other guy, segregate ourselves, put labels on ourselves, groupify into these groups and teams so that we can have rivalries and hate each other and blame each other, the worse things are going to get, and they keep getting worse. And the fact is, there are those powers that be who want that to be that way, because without the need to go to war, you don't need government. You don't need government if everybody's happy. You don't need government if everybody's getting along and taking care of things. That's why when people talk about communism, they talk about socialism, they talk about all these things. It's like, I want everybody to look up those words in the dictionary, get the definition, and understand that what they're talking about and what they hate is totalitarianism. Okay? Does communism work? No, it does not. Does socialism work? I don't really think so. I think that most of us have been around long enough. Anybody who knows a little bit about history, and I know the most minute things about history, but you know that nothing ever worked forever. No system ever worked forever. So what we should all do is take what seems like the best out of every system, like, everybody going to school and having education. That's a good thing. Everybody having a safe place to live and stuff like that, that's a good thing. And people should all have that. To think that, oh no, those people over there don't deserve to have shelter or food because they didn't pull themselves up by their bootstraps like I did. I don't know that anybody really thinks that way. I don't think that if you try to force somebody to say those words that they would actually believe them. So it's just this attitude that people have grown with, that they think that nobody's supposed to get help or whatever, and all this stuff goes on, and we've lived in this world where the powers that be, red, blue, left, right, whatever, they remain in power, they gain power the more that we fight each other instead of helping each other or just leaving people be. You don't want to help people, then leave them alone. You know what I mean? You don't have to sit there and just look for an enemy to argue with or look for somebody to blame for why your life sucks. You know what I mean? And just say, yeah, life kind of sucks for everybody. Maybe it's not that person over there's fault, because their life sucks too. If you really want to blame people who are actually trying to control your life and who are doing a bad job of it. We know who those people are. And they come in every stripe. But they got their positions of power and they make horrible decisions, and they didn't lead us at all. They were the worst people in the world in the last year and a half. And they have ruined things for people. They've made a mess because they didn't know what they were doing, or the people who were behind them who thought they knew what they're doing were not that smart. And this is a problem we're having right now, where the people who have all the money are not that smart. And it's the money, not necessarily the votes, that is making people have control. You can see, if you're not blind, that it's these billionaires who are going to be controlling things instead of anybody we voted for. There's so much going on that. But the point is that we should have come together as a people, not to live in some kind of communist utopia. There's no such thing. If it would work, I would be for it, but we know it doesn't. The point is to foster the people, as they say. The point is to help everyone do as well as they can. And If you have, be happy that you have. Don't be looking for the people who don't have and get angry at them because you think you're angry at them because they're taking your taxes. But you know what? You're angry at them because you know that life is unfair. And some part of you knows that other people sometimes have situations that are very bad. And deep down, it makes you feel bad. And there's a worry that you have that somehow you got lucky and they didn't, and that makes you feel guilty. And then these people, because they have now made you have a bad feeling, that's where your anger and hatred comes from. But you don't have to feel guilty and you don't have to feel bad. You know, everybody gets different breaks in life. Everybody gets dealt different cards. And if you get a good deck or a bad deck, if you're a great poker player and you get a bad hand, but you do well with it because you're naturally a good poker player, you don't need to hate the guy over there that can't play for shit but was magically dealt, you know, a full house. You know, it's not, I don't know what it is. When people, I believe, like I said, that people trigger some kind of bad feeling in you, and sometimes it's sadness. It's and sadness and anger, especially in places with people like the United States, where a lot of people aren't that emotionally aware. They don't know it's kind of two sides of the same coin. So sometimes when people make them sad, they get angry and they lash out. When people frighten them, they get angry and they lash out. And we're at a time where, okay, if you don't want to help other people, if you want to go whole hog into the dog eat dog world they're creating, you can do that. I mean, you have the right to have your views and think things, but it would be better for everybody if we spent less time blaming and making people others and I mean, I don't know, nothing can be done about our government right now. What's just gone with this bill for infrastructure? Like I said, no. The roads are crumbling and stuff like that. They need to be fixed and everything. But we needed to deal with the present situation. We needed to get everybody, we needed to get this country back. We needed to help people. And the way they're helping people, they're choosing who to help. They're choosing people who have children and who are a certain age. If your whole goal is to have daycare, because like I said last year in the fall, when Nancy Pelosi was constantly arguing about what to put in these bills and stuff like that, she kept talking about daycare. And I just sat there and I said, there's so many other things. Why is her whole focus on daycare? Oh, well, people can't go back to work if they don't have daycare. And I was like, there's a lot of other stuff going on. But it was daycare, daycare, daycare. And there are a lot of Americans, and a lot of people used to have kids and used to need daycare. But percentage-wise, the number of people who really need daycare, it's not everybody, it's not half. And now, everything they focused on in this bill, in terms of helping people, again, has been people with kids, children, meaning people under 18. So those people will get some money and they'll be placated. But again, if it's only going to be the money they would have got anyway in their tax return the next year, that's not really help. That's just shuffling the money around. And then the rest of this bill is going for a bunch of stuff that was not affected by the pandemic. I mean, roads and bridges and things like that cannot get coronavirus. Now, these things needed to be fixed. They did, and they still need to be fixed. But at this point in time, it's human beings in their lives and stuff that got ramshackled by the lockdowns that they created, and it was human beings that they needed to reimburse for putting everybody's life on hold. And they should have given every American, and I will say this till I die, which please let that be soon, they should have given every American $2,000 a month, rich or poor, okay? Big or little. They should have given every American $2,000 a month for every month they locked us down, meaning they should have been doing this from the beginning. They should have been doing this last year. And then if they decided that was too much money, then that's when they should have said, okay, you know what, no more lockdown. Back then. If they weren't going to do that, they shouldn't have kept us all hostage. I'm not the only person whose life is ruined. My life was ruined before, but what happened with it made it untenable. I'm mentally messed up. A lot of people are mentally messed up now from being isolated for a freaking year, from not going outside and getting vitamin D, for not being among other people. They ruined a lot, and they're not fixing it. They're like, go back like it's 2019. We cannot go back like it's 2019. But they're pushing for that. And now all these variants are going around because they stupidly, in a panic, realizing how bad they screwed up the economy, now suddenly wanted everybody to go back to school and do all this stuff. They don't care about the virus anymore. They don't care about the spread anymore. That's why in the last couple months they're like, okay, everybody go back to normal. Then the cases surge and they come up with the excuse that it's the unvaccinated. And it's like, no, they were going to surge because everybody went back to normal, because what was making everybody not get sick was being isolated. But that should have never happened. The response should not have been the response that it always was. The response should have been about understanding that natural things happen. This may not have been natural, but understanding that there are plagues. Okay? There are natural disasters. Okay? You can't always sue somebody because of liability that, well, why didn't you protect everybody from this? Well, why didn't you protect everybody from that? Everybody can't be protected. Everybody can't be held accountable for acts of God. Everybody can't be held accountable for plagues. But the mentality we have in the United States, especially in this litigious society we live in, everybody does everything based on not wanting to have any liability. That's how we get into a mess. That's how come everybody's blaming somebody all the time. That's why everybody's always pointing their fingers and trying to hold people accountable. And this whole thing, and this who's wrong and whose fault it is, and every single freaking thing, all of this shit should have been cured by the pandemic. We were all home. We were all in lockdown. Everybody should have been looking at themselves and trying to become better people. And I think people were. But when they threw everything into reverse, suddenly, out of the blue, everybody go back to normal. It's like they're trying to erase any kind of evolution that people had gone through by having time to sit with themselves and think and contemplate their lives and contemplate the way things are done, and did they want to change things. And a lot of people were ready to change, and like I said, work from home, and maybe homeschool the children. Maybe people could have started going that way, but when they realized people were getting used to what it seemed like they wanted people to get used to, they threw it into reverse. It was like, oh, no, go back to normal. And it's like, I feel like I got whiplash. And I'm not even that affected as people who did work in an office and had children in the school systems. They scrambled all our brains, and then they said, okay, now that your brains are scrambled, snap back to who you used to be. Go back, do what you used to do. There's a vaccine now, so everything's going to be fine. Meanwhile, no thinking person thought that the vaccine was going to fix the whole situation. Because what happened wasn't just a disease anyway. It was an economic crisis created by the reaction to the disease. That crisis has not been lifted. That crisis is only going to get worse. And now, like I said, this bill with all this money in it, and almost none of it really goes to people. And that's what happened with the other stimulus packages, but not like this. And I'm like, how these people can justify all this shit when people are still in such bad shape because of the situation they created. Like, they created the situation. They didn't give people enough help. And like I said, there's those people who are going to be like, well, depend on government, blah, blah, blah. Government exists. It makes the framework of our lives. It sends people to war. It decides to lock us all down. Don't act like it doesn't exist. You may want it to not exist. I may want it to not exist. But it does. And that's where we live. We live in the world of government. And government is different for different people. And you can't just say to people who, for whatever reason, are in the system or were forced into the system in the last year, or maybe were never out of the system, okay, well, just do your own thing and don't be in the system anymore. Don't depend on the system. And it's like, nobody wants to be in that situation. Nobody wants to depend on anybody else. Nobody wants to be in the system. Nobody wants to be that controlled. Nobody wants to do these things. If you think that they do, you probably never live like that. So you can't assume that you know what it's like. You can't assume that it is the easiest thing in the world to just go. The point of the system is to keep you in it. If you've never been in the system, you don't know that. If you grow up in an area, even like myself, you don't want to be in the system, you try to not be in the system. If everybody you're around is in the system, it's impossible for you to avoid it. Does that mean you have to get trapped in the system? No. Some people are very good and they have a clear path, and they lucky or not, they have a personality, they have a certain drive, they have a certain attitude. Maybe they're willing to do things other people aren't. Maybe they just luck out and get into a situation that is tenable to them, and they are able to not be in the system the way everybody they grew up around was, the way the way their circumstances were. But as time has gone on, more and more and more people have had to go in the system and depend on the system for very many reasons. And to turn around and hate those people for that because you're on a different side of the political aisle or whatever, to hate people who need help and think that they're making a choice, I know that's a very popular attitude, and you could go ahead and hate people if you want, but just really think about it. We're all being controlled one way or the other as people who have a government. Depending on how much you have or don't have. Okay? Because our system runs on money. Okay? And depending on how much money you have or don't have, depends on how much control you have over your life, how much freedom you have. Money in this, America is free depending on how rich you are. Okay? And as time's gone on, the number of rich people has decreased, and the number of people who are poor has increased. So you can say with certainty that you know you're right, and that all these people are just wanting handouts and all this stuff like that, and they shouldn't depend on government and stuff like that. But I would really like you to go ahead, if you're that certain, why don't you go ahead and make a plan for the person to get themselves out, and tell them exactly how to do it, and then tell them where the job is that they're supposed to get, and make sure that they're able to give them that job. The assumptions about what other people can do, the assumptions that everybody can do what you did, the assumptions that you're right and everybody else is wrong, and that you're the victim. Because in the end, if you see that, if you're saying that your taxes, there's taxes coming out of you and it's being given to these other people who just want handouts, that's a victim mentality. That's now saying that you're being victimized. And instead of blaming government, you're blaming these people. Because the fact of the matter is, there have been people who have floated the idea that income tax isn't even necessary. Okay? We all know that it's regular people paying income taxes, and the rich aren't paying income taxes. If you want to hate the fact that your taxes are being taken out of you and you think they're being dispersed to people who don't want to work, why don't you hate the rich people who make more money than you who aren't paying the taxes? Because they could easily just tax the rich and not tax middle class people at all, and have the taxes from the rich, the income taxes from the rich. pay for all those programs you hate, all the welfare and everything else that you hate. They don't have to take it out of you. They could take it out of just the rich people. They pay for everything. We could have flying subways if they tax the rich and pay, use that money to fund everything. There's never any funding. I don't know how much you've dealt with government, but these people are always insisting there's no funding. But if they don't tax the rich, if they're only taxing the poor people, which you don't think you're poor, the middle class people, the 99%, then that's how you get to pit people against each other. Say they're taking out of you to give to that guy. Now go ahead and hate them, because if it wasn't for them, you'd have more money in your pocket. They've got 3 kids. You had 2 kids. You only had 2 because you could only afford 2, and they had 3 on welfare. Now go ahead and hate them. That's the situation they're going to keep you in. But you have to understand, the stuff you believe is the stuff that they believe. Everybody believes different things because people are half brainwashed, but also too many people don't know the other side anymore. They don't know anything. They read about people, but they don't know anybody who goes through that situation. They don't deal with them on a daily basis and say, okay, I understand this person's going through. Are there bad guys? Are there bad guys who take advantage of the system? Yes. There are rich bad guys who take advantage of the system, and there are poor bad guys who take advantage of the system. That's what's wrong with the freaking system. The system only helps bad people. The good people get trampled underfoot. The good people suffer. The good people are oppressed by the system. And that's good people that have money and a job and they got everything taken care of. They got savings. They got 401k. They're still being oppressed too. Everybody who's not the elite are being oppressed by the elite. That is a fact. That's why I'm saying, and when there was the 99% and the 1% and you had Occupy Wall Street and all this stuff like that, this is so long ago now, but it seemed like people understood. When they say we're all in it together, it's not the celebrities singing their stupid song. Those people are not in it with us. The elites are not in it with us. The rest of us, anybody, the poor people on welfare, people who need help from the government, people who feel like they pay too much taxes and they work really hard and it's not fair. Everybody, even if they're nurses and doctors and they have really good jobs and they're police officers and they're making, the combined household income is like $200,000 a year, also being oppressed by the system because, everybody on the bottom is being used for these agendas and for these ends and being pitted against each other and blaming each other for all the problems in this world. But we, those people, all the regular salt of the earth folks, teachers, college professors, anybody who's not a millionaire, all of us down here, we're in it together. We need to know that. And I'm looking at all this stuff. Every year there's wildfires and a bunch of people suffer and then they stop talking about them. There's all that flooding in Europe. And I'm looking at that. I'm like, Angela Merkel's supposed to be hot shit. Are they going to pick on her for that act of God? The way they picked on some of our people when we had, because the United States seems to have a hell of a lot more natural disasters than everybody else. I'm not saying they don't have them over there, but we have them all the time. And the rest of the world looks at us and looks at our government and judges us. And all the people who want to be impressive to their French friends judge their own country. And it's like, we go through a lot more shit than they do over there. Are they going to attack her for not having, for all those flooding and mudslides and stuff? Are they going to do that the way they did when we had natural disasters? Because, you need to plan and you need to do what we can. And we could have been planning. The whole world could have been planning, knowing that the climate was getting worse. We could have been just preparing for it instead of sitting there and arguing about how to stop it, how to global emissions. That was never going to freaking work. You can't erase climate change. All we could have done was get ready. We should have been getting ready, not sitting there arguing about if it's real or not, and arguing about, CO2. Yeah, that's what caused it. But, I almost wanted to say Humpty Dumpty. Okay, you take an egg, you take an egg out of the carton, and you drop it on the floor, and it cracks. Are you going to sit there and argue about whose fault it was? Was your hand slippery? Was the carton faulty? You know what I mean? It's on the ground and it's cracked. You're not going to get Humpty Dumpty back together again. It's not going to go and be an egg again. It's now a cracked egg. You deal with the cracked egg. You deal with climate change. You start making situations where you plan for what's going to happen when there's a hurricane on top of a earthquake, on top of a, tsunami, on top. You start building things. When you build new things, build things to withstand anything. Teach people how to learn to live in caves, whatever. Get ready for the end. Try to help everybody do the best they can to be ready for the world to come. Don't sit there and argue and sue and throw a fit about who caused the shit we're in right now. Get ready for the shit that's coming. And we need to do that together. And if people aren't going to do that together, people are just going to sit there and argue about who's at fault and hate each other because hate poor people. If you hate poor people because if you think it's their fault, if you don't think it's their fault, if you think tax money is going to them and they don't deserve your tax money, if you hate poor people, think about that. You should really think about it. But we're all here on this planet. I don't know why I exist. I've told you that a million times. I don't know why I'm continuing to draw breath. And yet I keep hanging on, little bit, day by day. I keep hanging on a little bit more, a little bit more. I don't know why. And I don't know if anybody else really knows why they're here either. But while we're here, can we stop hating each other and stop pigeonholing each other and blaming each other and just doing stupidity? Your race, your gender, none of this shit matters. Okay? What matters is you don't hurt anybody else. You try your best. If you can help people, help them. If you need help, see if you can get it. And otherwise, we don't need to be hating each other for anything. We don't need to be telling other people what to do with their lives. We need to all be able to be free to be, you and me. We ought to be able to be ourselves. We all ought to have the nourishment and the shelter and the encouragement and the warmth and the good starting point to be the best person we can, to help the world with our individual gifts if we can. And if we want to be all group being together, fine. If we want to be individuals, that should be fine too. But what we had an opportunity with the pandemic and the lockdowns to really get together in terms of helping each other and reframing what life is about and understanding what really matters, instead of now trying to shoehorn ourselves back into our old life that we had in 2019. I'm sorry, that world is gone, whether the news media and the government want to admit it or not. They're trying to throw us back into that all of a sudden. I don't know what the hell they're thinking. They did not help us. And by us, I mean everybody. Even people who got some help, whether it was a business, in the end, they did not help us. And they're making things a million times worse. But we need to stop hating each other. Allow people to be themselves. Stop telling people how to think. Stop telling people what to do. Stop hating people because you think that they're causing your problems in life. If there's anybody who's causing the problems, like I said, it's the elite. It's the government. It's the ones who won't let us breathe. It's the ones who will by laws that make no sense, by situations that they take advantage of, oppress us all. Okay? But when I see normal Americans or normal citizens of the world attacking each other because they think it's that guy's fault, because, or yelling at people and blaming them for their circumstances. I've seen too many people hating homeless people. I've seen too many people, and this is before the pandemic, I've seen too many people, complete opposite of how it was when I was growing up. People hating people for not having or being poor. And like I said, to me, that's coming from a sadness inside. It makes you sad, and instead you turn that sadness into anger because you need to think that that person caused their own problems. You can't think that life is unfair. Everybody's trying to make life fair. Life isn't fair. And people need to acknowledge what life really is. They need to acknowledge the present day. Today it is July 17th, 2021. We need to live today. We can't, it's not 2019. Okay? We can't go back there. We can't go back to 1999. I would love to go back to 1984. Oh my God. But the fact is, we're here. We're here in 2021. It's stinking hot summer. The weather's off the charts stupid. I have not been able to think for months because it's been humid this whole fucking time. I can't get a break, even with the weather, to just, hey, let me think and be poor and in ruin at the same time. No, I gotta be poor and in ruin and with my life going off a cliff and not be able to think straight because it's so fucking humid. But whatever. I doubt if I even said everything I meant to say. We're almost at 52 minutes. Again, if you listen to this, I don't know why. Again, I feel the need to say what I see because it's not coming through the television. And when I read the comment sections, because I have always read the comment sections on articles and everything, I see people still, most people still coming from that red, blue, rich, poor bullshit divide that these people propagate to keep us distracted, to keep us hating each other, so we'll have to believe in them one way or the other. Stop hating your fellow man. Your fellow man means all mankind. Humankind. I know people have to say humankind. You have to say womankind. Mankind, I was taught as a kid in school, mankind meant everybody. Didn't matter if you were a boy or girl. So, all of mankind, everybody's having a hard time. Even the idiots. The idiots who are running the show, I'm 100% positive they don't know what the hell's going on now. They are completely lost. They were always morons, but they should not have taken as much power as they did because they didn't know what to do with it. And now we're all screwed over. And we're at a time, like I said, the planet's kicking our ass. Mother Nature's like, I'm so sick of you freaking people, giving us the finger every day. I don't know, but we need to stop blaming other people, because even if you think through no fault of their own, anybody who said through no fault of their own is a villain. Because if you think people are supposed to suffer because it is their fault, you're kind of a piece of shit. If you want anybody else to suffer ever because you think they're supposed to learn a lesson or whatever you think, you want to punish people, everybody on earth has a hard time. Okay? But those of us on the bottom, and that's 99% of us, our hard time is compounded by the dum-dums who took positions of power and were not worthy. Okay? You kind of have to be selfish to get to that point. I mean, you have to be selfish to get to the point of being there. And that's the problem. Because the people who should be running things, the people who should be our leaders, should be selfless. But a selfless person will never get on the path to becoming a mayor, a governor, a president, a senator. The people who want that are inherently selfish, and that's why the world is a crappy place. Those of us who are not selfish, we now need to stop hating other people, blaming other people, pigeonholing other people, categorizing other people, grouping everybody together, including ourselves. We all got to be nice to ourselves so we can be nice to everybody else. And if you see somebody suffering, you don't want to help, you think it's their fault, fine. Don't blame people for their suffering, because that's completely unnecessary. That's not going to make you taller, it's not going to make you rich, it's not going to make you more attractive. Okay? So if you don't like people, if you fine, just leave them alone. Don't get on the internet and vent all your anger at your own plight by attacking people and blaming them for their lives and how it affects you. And we're all having a hard time. Let's just try to be nice to ourselves and everybody else. Because if these aren't the end times, I don't know what they are. So, and the end times are going to come for everybody, even the elite. I don't know if we can fix anything now, but at least we cannot, like I said, not blame people for their own suffering, because that's just nasty.